And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Arcturus, who began having out-of-body experiences in his teens that led him into a mystical society where he learned the full potential of astral traveling. He is now an astral projection expert and a spiritual guide from Mexico. Arcturus, thank you for joining me and welcome.
Thank you for having me, Jeff.
How did you start astral traveling when you were a teenager?
Well, what happened is that when I was around, let's say 15, I think I was 15, I started experiencing sleep paralysis. You know, in the middle of the night, I felt like I woke up, I could see my room, but I just couldn't move. And it was an experience that would really scare me. I didn't know what it was, and it kept repeating and repeating until one day a friend of mine suggested that this could be what people refer to as astral projection. And astral projection, it's, the concept is that you leave your physical body. Some people believe that you leave your physical body with your soul. It's not really the case, but your consciousness leaves your physical body somehow. So when I found that out, I started reading more about it because I was always drawn to the metaphysical. You know, when I was a kid, I used to read about UFOs and psychic powers, and I was really drawn into this. And so I started reading on the internet. Back then, there was not a lot of information about this in Spanish, but luckily I could speak English. So that's when I found out what astral projection was, and I learned some techniques. And basically, the first day that I practiced one of the techniques, which involved saying a mantra, which is these words that have that produce certain vibrations, I was able to I went to bed and I laid on my back. I started doing the practice, and I was able to detach my consciousness from my physical body. And it was an incredible experience. I could see myself floating in my room, and I could see my physical body. And I actually tried to exit through the window that was closed. And when I felt the glass, I could feel the cold, and I could hear the sounds from outside, and I tried to pass through. And that's when I felt pulled back into my physical body. And that was the first time that I did astral projection. And that's how every night I started to repeat the experiment, and I started going further away from my physical body. And then I started to explore the astral dimension, and I had a lot of experiences. And so that's how it started.
I believe a lot of people have trouble astral projecting because of fear. How do they get over their fear?
I wrote a book. It was my first book. I've written 3 books about astral projection. And that's when I noticed, because I started talking to people about this, and people were telling me that they believed it was unsafe, that it was likely that you will not come back to your physical body if you astral project. And then a few years later, there was this film, very famous film called Insidious. And I think it talks about that, like, a person who had the ability to astral project. And apparently that's how it's supposed to be something really rare. And that's how he was getting possessed by an entity. So there's a lot of fear mongering out there, and it has to do with ignorance. But when you start reading about the topic and you find out that this is something that has been taught also in many religions, they talk about out-of-body experiences, and you start learning that it's a natural ability, and that actually we all leave our physical bodies when we go to bed, when we start sleeping. It's just that we don't realize it, right? So in other words, astral projection, it's a way in which you're able to to perceive the moment in which you leave your physical body. So it's like you leave your physical body every night that you go to bed, but you don't notice it. But when you practice astral projection, you know it. You are conscious during the process of detachment.
So your consciousness is actually leaving the body. It's not that you're having a lucid dream.
Well, the lucid dream is also similar. What happens is that your consciousness leaves your physical body in another body that we all have, because we are multi-dimensional beings, right? And so when we leave to the astral world, when we leave the physical body, we do so in something called the astral body, right? And lucid dreaming, it's also the same, because you are already outside of your physical body. You are in your astral body, but you were dreaming, and suddenly you become conscious that you were dreaming. So the difference between lucid dreaming and astral projection is that when you astral project, you haven't dreamed yet. You're in the process of falling asleep. And so you're able to see the moment when your astral body leaves your physical body. And so when you're lucid dreaming, you're already dreaming. So you missed the opportunity of seeing the transition of leaving your physical body, the detachment. And you see yourself in a dream, because the mind was projecting the dream, right? When you are dreaming, you're already in the astral world, but you are seeing images that your subconscious is projecting, right? And but you're already outside of your physical body. And so lucid dreaming just makes you realize that you are, okay, I'm dreaming, I'm in the dream world that my subconscious has created, but this dream world happens in the astral world, which is the fifth dimension. And so in the fifth dimension is where astral projection happens, lucid dream happens, dreams happen, and that's also the place that dead people go to before they come back to the physical world again.
Have you seen recently dead people coming into that dimension while you were there?
Yes, I mean, the last time that I saw a dead person was about a year ago. And what happens is that, the physical world, let's say our planet Earth, it has a specific number of kilometers or miles. It has distances, right? But when you think about the fifth dimension, the limits, it's basically limitless, right? So in the astral dimension, you place yourself according to where your mind is. So there are like certain areas in the astral world that are the areas for dead people. Like dead people, they are fulfilling certain tasks, so they belong to a frequency within the astral dimension. And so when you dream, when you normally dream, you are in a different, you are also in the astral dimension, but you're in a different frequency within the astral dimension. So you don't always encounter them. And the way in which you normally can encounter them is when they have a message to give to you. Maybe they are related to you. Or what happened to me the last time that I saw a dead person was that I have a friend whose mother had I think a seizure, I don't know, a stroke. She had a stroke and she went into a coma, and they didn't know if she was going to wake up or not from the coma. So my friend asked me if there was something I could do in the astral to find out what's going to be what was going to happen to her. And so for 2 days, I tried to find her in the astral dimension. And the first time I had an astral projection, I was in the astral world, and I started focusing on her, and I visited the hospital where she was staying in. I mean, basically, you see the hospital like a version of the hospital, like let's say, yeah, it's like a copy of the hospital, but in the fifth dimension. And it means that the hospital also has a version in the astral dimension, but if your mind is connected to it, it can look similar or almost the same as the version of the physical dimension or two parts of it, right? So I was able to reach this hospital, but I couldn't enter into her room. I couldn't find her room. And so I went back into my body, right? And the next day I tried the experiment again, and I was able to visit her, the room where she was being treated in the hospital, but through the astral version. And that's where when I saw her and I talked to her, and unfortunately she told me that she was not going to come back. And around 2 weeks later, we had the sad news that she passed.
What was she doing over there?
What happens is that most people, when they die or when they are in the process of dying, it's like at the beginning is difficult because they are still attached to their physical lives. I've told people that actually the fifth dimension, since it's a superior dimension, because this is a three-dimensional world, right? 3 dimensions. But the higher the dimension, the greater the freedom, because there are less laws, right? Let's say one law could be time. In the astral world, time doesn't exist. Another law is gravity. In the astral world, the law of gravity doesn't exist. Another law is that you need to be constantly eating to survive or drinking water. You don't have that law in the astral world. So it's far superior. But at the beginning, people, that's another problem with astral projection. I mean, the fear, we were talking about fear. Well, people also don't know what the fifth dimension is. So they don't know that they could be in a better place. Most people haven't seen it, so they don't know what to expect. And so they are very attached to their physical life. So when I saw her in the hospital bed. She didn't seem sick when I saw her. She seemed like normal, but she was confined to the hospital bed, and she was completely conscious. And at the same time, she seemed to be sad and worried because she knew she wasn't going to come back. And so people ask me, how did she know? In the astral, there's a lot of things that happen telepathically, and also intuition. It's some that you get like the answers telepathically, right? So this woman, I was talking to her in English, but she was actually from Bulgaria, so she didn't speak English. But I could understand everything in English. In my mind, I was listening to what she was saying in English, and I was talking back to her in English. Or I don't even remember if I was talking in Spanish because that's my mother tongue, but she was understanding perfectly everything. And so that's a thing that has happened to me many occasions in the astral, that you talk to people from different parts of the world or even different planets or other parallel universes, and you understand perfectly everything because you talk telepathically. I mean, you speak, you hear things, but you interpret everything in your language, right? So basically, my intuition told me that someone in the astral had told this lady that she wasn't going to come back to the physical world, right? It could have been an angel of death, which are the entities that have the mission of managing souls passing to between dimensions, right? So that's how I had the intuition that they had informed her. She knew, and I told her, well, I just want you to know that your daughter misses you. She loves you. She wanted to know whether you were gonna come back or not. And yeah, that was what happened.
Did you immediately tell the family that you spoke with her and she's not coming back?
You know, it's hard to remain in the astral world. It's like you need a lot of practice. So a lot of people say, well, you could get stuck in the astral world. That's actually not true. I mean, it's the other way around. It's just easier to come back to your physical body. So if you can stay in the astral world for a while, then congratulations. There are many techniques to achieve this. So you know, I always feel that my time is running out when I'm in the astral. So when she told me all of this, there was a moment where I just started, like, you know, everything starts going blurry, starts going white, and that's when I know I'm gonna come back to my physical body. So I came back to my physical body, and the moment I woke up, I picked up the phone and I messaged my friend, and I told her, "I'm sorry, my friend. I talked to your mother, and she said she's not coming back." And you know, I was worried because it was the first time that somebody asked me to do something like that, so I felt like it was a huge responsibility. Because I mean, what if he actually woke up? I mean, that would have been great, of course. But, you know, it's like I still have a responsibility because I said she was not going to come back. And then, you know, she actually passed. So what I said was correct. But still, it was a huge responsibility. So I felt like I did this just because she asked me to. Um, and something had happened during that time, because it was at the end of October, at the beginning of November, which is a time when a vortex opens in our world that connects with the world of the dead, and that's why we celebrate Halloween and Samhain and Dia de los Muertos in Mexico. You know, in many cultures we have this tradition because it happens during that time, and so it was not the first experience related to dead people that I had during that time. So I felt like it was something that I needed to learn, but it's something that I feel I don't want to do often. Like, I don't want to do again. I mean, maybe I would do it again, but I don't want to be like a ghost whisperer or something like that, because it's a huge responsibility. And, you know, you sort of absorb the emotion. So, you know, people are hurt. It's a situation that a lot of emotions, negative emotions are happening. It's natural. And I just want to be involved in that. And that's what happens.
While you're out of your body, can a being steal it?
No, that would be really hard. I've heard that the only way to do so is you have to give the being a permission to get inside your body, which I believe this is something that happens with mediums, with mediumship. I don't know how you call it, mediumnism or mediumship.
Mediums or channelers or both?
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't know. I believe it's the same thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but you know, mediums. That's what they do. They act as a vehicle, so they use their physical body. They give permission to an entity to get into their physical body so that they can communicate to a physical person. And I believe that's dangerous. And I've known a lot of people who were involved in mediumship. And I feel many develop schizophrenia. So I believe that's some sort of effect from mediumship. But it's not related to astral projection. I wouldn't even know what to do for an entity to enter my body. I guess you would have to give permission. I don't know exactly where. I think you have to be completely conscious, and you really want to do it, and that's how you could do it. But if you are just astral projection for astral traveling, I don't think that would happen. I mean, it has never happened to me, and I've never heard about this happening to an astral traveler. So I believe it's pretty safe in that sense. And I know it's pretty safe because we all leave our physical body and we travel with our astral body when we sleep. That's what I know. We're just not conscious about it.
Can you tell us about the different types of beings that you have encountered while astral projecting?
I have encountered people from parallel universes. Like I've seen myself in different lives that are similar about stuff that I'm doing currently or that I've done in the past. I've seen environments, I've seen cities that are very similar to cities on our, Earth, but they have different names. And so that's one group of like people from parallel dimensions. We also there's a parallel you in other parallel dimensions. I mean, and there are parallel me's in parallel dimensions on top of the astral bodies that we have and the etheric bodies that we have. And so that's one group. And the other entities could be the archetypes. Archetypes are basically parts of an inner self, parts of an inner master. We all have something that we call the higher self or the inner master, which is, let's say, a quantum version of yourself that is enlightened, that is awakened, and that belongs to a higher dimension. And basically that part is a God, because we all have an inner God. So there are as many gods as there are beings in the universe, right? So I think the purpose of life is for us to reconnect to that God that is part of us. And that God at the same time is part of a collective God, right? And so that God has many qualities, and those qualities are the archetypes. And the archetypes could be like, let's say, the Olympian gods, there's an archetype that we call the inner father or the inner mother, which are the father and mother polarities, principles that we all have and that have different qualities. So the archetypes, that's another type of, let's say, being. But they are not really beings, they are archetypes. It's different. But I've seen elementals, and those are interesting because elementals are basically the astral bodies of animals, plants, and minerals, right? So just to give you an example, you might see a tree in this dimension, and the tree cannot move. I mean, they actually move, but they move, like not by will. I mean, they have like water circulates, chlorophyll circulates inside of them. They grow. That's the kind of movement, right? But they don't have brains and things like that. Well, in the astral world, a tree will have a humanoid look. In other words, in the astral world, the tree is completely developed. It has a brain. It can communicate with you. It can think. It can be a master. It can teach you stuff that are more advanced than anything you can learn. Because in that dimension, he's completely evolved, right? The tree is completely evolved. Same happens with rocks. Same happens with animals. So I've had the opportunity of talking to these entities in the astral, to the elementals, and that's another very common type of beings that you can encounter in the astral realm.
Have you been to the Akashic Records? And if so, what does it look like there?
Yeah, I've been many times, and I don't know if I believe everyone, when you're in the astral, you may get certain interpretations of how it looks because it has to do with your cultural background from this existence and different existences. But I was having a conversation with this precisely with Darius, and to me they manifest as a big Gothic cathedral, like a huge Gothic cathedral. It looks like a mountain, right? And once you're inside, what I've seen is that they look like a library with unlimited floors, unlimited halls, all full of libraries with books, and you actually see people in there. I don't know, I believe many of these people are people from Earth that are consciously getting into the Akashic records. Some of them might not be accessing consciously, and there might be also people from parallel universes and also beings from other planets. But every planet, this is what I've learned, that every planet has an Akashic record, and so the Akashic records have the memories of everything that has happened in the universe and in that planet, and in the life of every living organism.
When you saw the beings from other planets, did they look humanoid like us or something completely different?
Some of them, like the ones from parallel universes, they are just exactly like us. But beings from other planets, yes, they look also very humanoid. I personally haven't seen, let's say, like the gray aliens that some people talk about, that they say they might be evil and that they kidnap people. I don't even know if they exist. I know also that my spiritual guru hasn't seen them. Some of the extraterrestrials that you see in the astral, they look like us, but they can be huge. They can be like very big. Some of them, they look perfect. Perfect bodies, perfect hair. And some of them are also quite small. But to me, they've all looked humanoid, but I've also seen some beings that look very strange, but I cannot tell you whether those beings were from another planet or they were elementals. And I'll tell you why. Because I had an experience a few months ago. I was going to go for a dolphin tour. So I was going to swim with the dolphins. And the night before, I was able to astral project, and I went to the lobby in my condo building, and I saw these very strange beings that looked like Greek philosophers, wearing the classic clothes like the white robes and all of that, and they had white beards, but the skin was this like purplish gray color, right? And they were greeting me. They were basically saying hi, and they were very happy. And then I took this boat tour to see the dolphins, and I was probably the youngest guy in the group. And the moment we saw the dolphins, they gave us a snorkel and fins, and I just jumped out of the boat and I started swimming. And one dolphin approached me, and it was an incredible sensation because he was looking at me like no animal would ever look at you. I mean, dolphins, they look like humans or like aliens, something like that, like because you can feel they are super smart. And so he was looking at me, and I was looking back at him, and I was like, oh, these are the beings that I saw the night before. I mean, they were these bearded, gray, purplish philosophers. And so I felt, my intuition told me that they were greeting me, and they remembered me from, hours ago when I saw them in the astral.
Your website is called escapefromthematrix.com. What have you seen on the other side or in the astral that leads you to believe that our realm is a matrix?
Yeah, that's a good question. What happens is that when I started astral projecting, when I began practicing, when I learned techniques and I started to astral project every night, my life completely changed. It was I couldn't go back to normal life because the places I was visiting, the things I was seeing, the things that I could do in the astral were so fulfilling, were so like limitless. The possibilities were endless. So after that, I just couldn't hold a job like a normal job. I just couldn't do life the way most people keep their lives. You know, like having a 9 to 5 job and life tells you you need to marry, you need to have children, you need to eat, you need to celebrate on the weekends, and then you need to work again and repeat. It wasn't the same because I realized that maybe at some point in history, maybe before Britain history, and I believe this happened before Britain history, we made certain mistakes and we created a collective reality that is very limited and it's very painful. And I believe beings from other dimensions and from other planets also see us as, wow, these guys screwed up. They designed a world that is so, based on money, based on these things, and it's not fulfilling. And so that's where the concept of escaping from the matrix was conceived, because through astral projection, I started to look for answers. Like, why are we in this state? How can we change our lives? How can we design our world, our life? And that's how I ended up meeting a spiritual guide, master called Dharma Rinpoche. And I joined a school of mysticism. Many of these terms are being forgotten, but they used to be called esoteric schools or occult schools. And now pretty much they're all gone, or they have become corrupted, right? So I was lucky to be in one of the last mystical societies that I think existed on this earth. And I started learning more about other topics such as meditation and other techniques so that we can start creating our own lives and not be so dependent of the world that is so limited that we have collectively created through society.
Can you give us some tips on how to escape the matrix?
One of the things that I can tell everybody is to never trust politicians. Never trust your government. I think you already know that. Never trust the news. I mean, I'm not talking about, let's say, believing every conspiracy out there, because that can also be dangerous. But you also need to know that there are groups, there are the ones that own the news channels and the media, and so most information is manipulated, right? So don't get paranoid. Don't get paranoid about these things, because that's also a problem. Some people live in fear all of their lives. That's not necessary. But don't believe in everything, right? Always question everything. Always question everything. But also don't live in fear, right? Because there are so many theories about how, they are gonna, people worry about a third world war. Of course, that's a possibility, but you can't be worrying about things you can't control, right? So stop living in fear. Remember that we take decisions triggered on different things. Mainly, us humans, I think we make decisions. Most people make decisions based on the psychological aggregates. And the psychological aggregates is a concept in Buddhism, which refers to programmings, let's say softwares, that we have created with our own minds and that dictate our actions. Other religions give them different names. Let's say Christianity calls them the capital sins, right? Or you might call them the demons, or you know, but like every time you take a decision based on fear, that decision is based on fear. And fear has a function. We are all born with fear because, you know, sometimes in a survival level, which is like the less refined level of existence that we all have, it's important to feel fear in certain situations. Because if you feel fear, that will make you escape from fear. Let's say you see a wild animal. So fear will activate, you know, the flight response to run away. All of that is normal, right? But then you're having fear about things such as the economy, or, oh, I'm going to lose my job tomorrow. I just feel like, and you know, things that haven't happened, but people fear about these things, right? And that's just one example. Fear could be one of these psychological aggregates. We also have sadness. We have lust. We have aversion. We have anger. There are different ones, right? They have a function, but people don't use them for their real purpose. People use them as psychological aggregates. It means we have used them wrongly because society doesn't teach us how to use these emotions or these thoughts. And so they are everywhere. And also they are used to make money, because through fear, through desire, that's how, you know, you can sell people anything too, right? But these things that doesn't exist because they are caused by the brain are what guide us in this life. And so that's what creates a lot of suffering for us. So I always tell people, you can make two choices: to do stuff based on what your real self desires, your inner self, your higher self wants, and you can do stuff based on the psychological aggregates. So what your higher self wants is always the positive thing, and what the psychological aggregates want is always the negative things. So even some things that might look like positive because they make you feel good, you know, they are bad because in the long run, they are negative. Such as, let's say, you really desire eating a lot of ice cream, right? So you know the ice cream will make you feel good, but your body will have problems with that later. And you know, it's like a desire that tells you it's something that you don't really need, but it's creating that need, right? So a lot of things in life work like that. So if you have to make a decision in life, make a decision based on the positive, right? Not on the fear. So if you're gonna, let's say, take a job, are you gonna accept that job because you feel inspired by it? Or because you're afraid that if you don't get that job, you will not get a better offer, or because you feel like you need to do this to survive or something like that? So always choose on the positive. That's one thing that I can say. And the other thing is, maybe look up for astral projection. Maybe find out more about astral projection, because through astral projection, you can discover the spiritual world, and you can discover the limitless possibilities outside of the confines of the three-dimensional and of your physical world.
Do we reincarnate willingly to this matrix every time, or are we forced to do so?
I believe most of us are forced to do so. Most of us. There are also masters. I mean, in mystical teachings, we use the term reincarnation only for a master that wants to come back to the physical world to guide humanity, right? Like Jesus or Buddha, Krishna, whatever, right? That's the actual use, I mean, the right use of reincarnation. We say that the people that are not masters, we just return. So it's the law of return. But sometimes I use reincarnation because, I think people interpret it easier now, right? Like people are more familiar with the term, right? So I believe we all have to come back to the physical world because we need to keep evolving to completely comprehend everything that happens in the three-dimensional world, so that we can transcend the physical world. I mean, the objective of being here in this physical body is a vehicle to explore this dimension. And so the objective is to comprehend how it works. And then once we understand how it works, we can come back to our higher self, our inner God, and unite with it and live in a higher dimension. But because of the way in which, society works and how the times have been very difficult for thousands of years, we are not really reaching that objective. And so that's why we need to come back, and we need to come back, and we need to come back. And there's actually a lot of suffering in that, because we're not happy all the time here in this world. There is suffering in disease, there's suffering in the death of relatives, there's suffering in not having money, there's suffering in disease and death. So until we understand everything, that's when they say we awaken. And by awakening, we understand what we came to this world to learn. And at the same time, we raise our vibration. So once you raise your vibration, because you understand everything and you process everything that happens to you correctly, then you're ready to ascend to a higher dimension. But if you still suffer, or you are still, let's say, controlled by your psychological aggregates, by fear, by all of these things, then you don't have the right vibration yet to ascend to a higher dimension. That's why you have to come back. So I believe most of us have to come back to keep learning.
So is it the lack of the higher vibration that makes us return, or are there beings out there that are forcing us to return?
Yeah, it's definitely the higher vibration, because the moment you learn, you can control your emotions. You can process everything that happens to you with a silver lining. And when you meet, let's say, a Tibetan monk, I've met some Tibetan monks, and there's one that I admire a lot. His name is Lama Tashi. And this person is always happy, always positive. And if he sees a situation where a person is feeling down or angry or whatever, he does everything to change the vibration of that person, because that's the right vibration in that it's compatible with a higher vibration, right? So you get that through understanding, because once you understand why you suffer, why you are angry, all of these, once you understand that, then you can start substituting that for feelings that are more akin to higher vibrations, like feeling fulfilled, feeling happy, feeling at peace. That has to do with a higher vibration. But I know what you're saying, because a lot of people have theories that there are entities, there are like aliens, or there are demons or archons that are grounding us to this earth. And I absolutely don't believe in this. I've never seen such a thing. I've talked to my spiritual guide about this thing. The same, we don't believe in that, because there are certain laws in this universe that protect us. We're also protected from aliens that might wanna try to control us. Because there are also superior beings that are, managing these things, and these beings are full of light, and they don't believe in negativity. Negativity is incompatible, and they know how to limit the interaction of these evil beings from any part of the universe with us. In fact, many believe that beings that are not conscious enough don't even have the possibility of visiting other planets. In fact, that maybe is one of the reasons why we haven't met living beings in other planets, because we are just not prepared for that, because we still have a lot of ego.
At some point, do you think there will be an ending to this simulation? And if so, would that be the result of some kind of apocalypse?
Yes, I think there will be an end, in the sense that I believe there is a cosmic day and a cosmic night. The cosmic day is what we call the Big Bang, when, creation starts, the universe starts, and it lasts for trillions of years. And then everything goes back to sleep. Maybe everything gets sucked into a black hole and everything disappears. And then everything rests for the same period of time. And then everything repeats again. So it's always repeating. So it never ends. And that's seen from our three-dimensional perspective, because from higher dimensions, time and space doesn't really exist, correct? But in terms of our evolution, some people believe that we are all going to transition to a higher dimension. I believe so too, that we're going to transition to the fourth dimension, the dimension between the third and the fifth. I believe we when the Bible, for example, says that Adam and Eve were expelled from paradise, they're actually talking about being expelled from the fourth dimension, which was much better than our current dimension, right? So I believe in our cosmic evolution. Right now, we are arriving to a moment where we're having a transition to the fourth dimension. Now, there are many people who believe that everybody will be part of this transition, that everybody will be going to the fourth dimension. But I honestly believe, and maybe that has to do with my mystical background, what I learned from the mystical school that I belong to, that this is not the case, that this will happen to those that are working on their awakening, on their self-development, right? Because in my beliefs, when we've been evolving from different kingdoms, the mineral, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and now we are in the human kingdom. And so in all the other kingdoms, everything follows natural cycles where nature is guiding you automatically through evolution. But once you arrive to the human state, you have to keep evolving through your own efforts. And that's related to the creation of the brain, that is the seat for the mind, right? So we have a brain. We haven't fully developed it yet. It's a seat for a mind that wasn't created in this three-dimensional world. It comes from a higher dimension, but it's being created at the same time, the brain, through the interaction that we have with this dimension, right? So at this stage of our evolution, we are the ones that need to pursue the spiritual evolution. And that's why we've had masters, we've had religions that have shown us the way. Of course, that most of these religions have become corrupted, because that's the nature of people these days, or since thousands of years ago. But I believe like if you're a criminal, if you don't really change your ways, if you're like a bad person, if you're always negative, I don't believe like they're gonna tell you, oh, okay, Hitler, don't worry, you know, now we're gonna forgive you, and now you're gonna evolve to the fourth dimension. I believe this is not the case. I believe if you're not working on yourself, if you don't have any interest on your spiritual development, then it's going to be like a wave, and you have to imagine yourself as a surfer. In order to catch a wave that you can surf, you need to start paddling at the same speed as the wave. So once you are in the same speed, the wave will take you. But if you don't paddle hard enough, you know, the wave will pass you. And I believe this is the moment we're at. A lot of people are beginning to awaken now. A lot of people are being drawn to spirituality. And so those are the ones that are having the opportunity now. And so I don't know exactly what happened. There are many I don't know exactly what will happen. There are many theories. Some people say that extraterrestrials will come and they will help us and take us to another planet or to a different dimension. Or there are also theories that we are suddenly, our consciousness is going to be, let's say, taken to a parallel reality that is in a higher dimension. I believe this is my theory. That's going to happen. Like just as I have had those astral experiences where I see myself in parallel lives, I think something similar is going to happen, that at some point you will be living in a parallel life. I mean, you will be conscious of that parallel life, because that is actually happening, but you're not conscious there yet. You know, maybe there's a version of you that is conscious in that parallel reality, but your current conscious self will become conscious of that parallel reality that is superior, that it might be happening in the fourth dimension, and maybe you're not going to be connected to the you're not going to be conscious of your current life in the three-dimensional world, and maybe there will be like an apocalypse, like a war or something. But if you are doing the right thing, you're not going to be conscious of that anymore, because you're going to be conscious of another life that is more fulfilling in a higher dimension. That's my theory, but nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. Not even my guru knows. And even if you read the scriptures of different religions, there's no answer to that. Like nobody knows when the time will come, and nobody knows how it will be. But a lot of people are feeling this intuition that the change to a better reality is going to happen very soon, probably during this lifetime.
Do you fear death at all?
No, that's an interesting question. When I started astral projecting, I stopped fearing death, because I understood what would happen to me once I die. I understand the dynamics of the astral world. I know that I will probably become conscious that I'm dead very quickly, if not automatically, when that moment happens. And I will know how to completely detach myself from the physical world, and I can enjoy, and I know how to move in the astral world. That's what I think. So the only thing that I fear is, you know, the pain, because you don't know how you're gonna go, right? I don't know if it's gonna be through a disease or something. But I also don't think about it very often, because at the same time, like I said, there's no use to that. There's no use of living in fear, and it's completely worthless to think about something like that. And it's painful, and it can actually give you a disease, you know, so it's better not to think about that. But at the same time, I also have memories of when I was born in this life, right? So I remember the transition and the moment when I was an astral soul, an astral baby, and the moment where I came to this physical world. Yeah, which was traumatic.
Did you enter the body before you were born or after?
The moment I was being born. I don't know. I believe, and I've heard that that's not always the case. You know, some people enter a baby when the baby's born, like after the baby's born. Probably not after a long time, maybe after just a few days. But I believe most of us entered the moment we were born. And the way I remember it is that I was in the astral world, and I was like a baby or like a kid in the astral world. I guess more like a kid because I could think, but my thinking was like that of a kid, like playful and happy, and I had a mother in the astral world, which was my archetype of my mother, right? So she looked just like my physical mother, but it was the archetype of my divine mother, which never changes. Probably the aspect changes, and it had acquired the aspect of my physical mother, and it just looked beautiful and so loving and taking care of me. And I remember that she was showing me my physical mother and telling me, "This is going to be your mother. Um, you're going to be born soon." And I was really happy about that. I was really happy, and I could feel the love that my mother had for me. And that just felt wonderful. But the moment I was born, that's when they told me, the time has come. And I started feeling like I was being flushed through the toilet or something like that, through an astral toilet. And I was trying to like grab myself onto the astral dimension. I was like, "No, mother, please, no." And then I was sucked into the physical body, and it was the most terrible thing. And so I don't remember the first hours in the hospital or anything like that. I don't remember, I guess, my first months as a baby, or most of my memories as a baby. I don't remember, but I remember that moment. And lately, I just found out that I was born through the use of forceps. So maybe that explains why I used to get sick very often when I was a kid, and I was also a bit frail. And that's I've been told that happens when you need assistance to be born.
Arcturus, after watching this podcast, people may want to ask you questions. Are you open to that?
Absolutely, I would be more than happy.
What's the best way to contact you?
They can contact me on my website, escapefromthematrix.com. There's a mailing list there, and also all of my links. I have Instagram, and I have a Facebook group as well, and I have a YouTube channel. I have actually all of this media. I also have it in Spanish, but like I was telling you, I'm trying to expand more to the English speaking market. So I also have a YouTube channel with some videos, but right now I'm going to start producing more and more content on Facebook and YouTube. But people can check my social media. I'm gonna provide you some links, and also if they visit escapefromthematrix.com, they can find more information about me and what I do.
Do you have anything else that you're working on that you want people to know about?
Well, I want people to know that I've written 3 books about astral projection: Out of Body Experiences Part 1, Out of Body Experiences Part 2, and The Astral Explorer. And right now I'm working on a workshop that's going to take place in February. It's going to be from February the 13th to February the 15th of 2024. And basically I'm going to take people to a sacred temple in the Mexican jungle. It's a place that looks like an Indiana Jones setting that is full of mystical energies. Basically, it's a thin place. The veil between this world and a higher dimension is very thin in this place. And we're going to do different practices to astral project. And I'm also going to be working with a friend of mine who is an astrologist and a hypnotherapist. And we're going to be helping people to connect to the Akashic records and to work on many aspects of themselves so that they can reclaim the love within and without. And we're going to be doing that by teaching them how to astral project and using hypnotherapy that they can also do to help them during this process of astral projection so that they can heal themselves and explore the astral dimension. So that's what we're going to be doing. Yes. And they can find out more information on escapefromthematrix.com.
Before we finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
Yes. The positive message is that, like I was saying, focus on the good things, on the good stuff in life, focus on the positive, and don't make decisions based on fear or on negative feelings. Because I believe that for those that are focusing on their spiritual growth, we're going to receive a lot of help, because right now there are different cosmic energies that are aligned with our planet, and they are helping us to evolve spiritually, as long as they want to be connected to spirituality and as long as people want to work on their spirituality.
Arcturus, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you, Jeff, and it was wonderful to be your guest, and I hope that we can talk in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.